Okay, so I have a JV1080 loaded up with an electric piano. And I do have a scale loaded. A minor, it's just all the white notes, just to make it easy. And yeah, let's get a bass line down. So these are just going to be the bottom notes of our chords. Just single notes for now. Let's give this a listen. Now that sounds pretty good, but it's just single notes right now. It's not chords yet. So I'm going to drop this an octave and let's start building chords. To do that, we're going to skip every other note in the scale. So if E was our first note, F was our second note in the scale, like after it, we're going to skip the F, go to the G. Now if A was after our G in the scale, we'd skip the A, go to the B, so on and so forth. You're gonna make it so that there's 3 in each, and that should be a triad. Should sound something like this. Now that sounds good. It's just basic chords right now, but it's a little bit boring. Not yet like Pluggnb feel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna skip one more note. This should make a 7th chord for each and every single one of these. Give it like a jazzier kind of R&B feel. Should sound something like this. Now that sounds pretty good, but I think there's something off with the second chord. Now, the way I usually determine what sounds off is using the arpeggio or bassline theory or technique, where it's just like we have a bass line down here. If we would play it in an arpeggio, it sounds good. We know that already. But we look at each line. So instead of just looking at our bottom one, we go to the second line in the chords, or the third, or the final one, and we listen to see if they would make a good bass line. So I just showed we already have our original bass line. We know that sounds good. So we're gonna listen to the second line. That sounds good. Now we're gonna move on to the third line. Would be these. That sounds pretty good. So let's move on to our final notes. That sounds a bit weird. I think this F is a bit off. So what I'm gonna do to fix that is either bring it down. Let's hear how that sounds. Okay, that is a nice chord, but I don't think it works for this type of vibe with these chords. So instead of going from the F to the E, we're gonna go from the F to the G. See how that sounds. That works. That works pretty well. Now, this is just already basic 7th chords. Jazzy R&B feel, but not quite yet Pluggnb. Now to get that type of feel, we're gonna go out of scale. What I mean by that is we're gonna take any of these chords, choose the second note or on the second line, one of them, let's say this C, and we're either gonna move it down one note or we're gonna move it up one note. So let's try down first, see how this sounds. That almost works, sounds a little bit off. So let's try going up. Now, this note is technically out of scale. Our scale is all the white notes. And this is a black note. But it should add more of like a emotional Pluggnb feel. So let's try this. That works. Now you could just keep these by themselves. That would work fine. But to make it even jazzier, even smoother, what I like to do is add what I call the R&B root note technique. And what that is instead of copying these bottom notes, make them bass notes down here. That sounds pretty good, but it's a little bit basic. It's a little bit boring. So what I like to do is, just like how we skipped every note in the scale to make our chords, instead of going up, we're going to skip down. So D is below this E in the scale. We're going to skip it. Below the D is a C. We're going to do that for each and every single one of these. Now let's listen to how this sounds in comparison to what we had just listened to. That sounds pretty good, but just like how we have problems with the second chord, I hear something on this third chord. I think it's this F that is a little bit off. Now, instead of just copying this A down, you can see we already have it right here. It would kind of sound like repetitive. So what I like to do is, instead of going from this bottom note, go for the second note. Now this note is technically out of scale, but like we figured out, it's gonna sound good. So let's try moving this down as a bass note. That works. I like that. Let's try bringing down an octave, just hear how this sounds. That sounds wonderful. Now, this is already a Pluggnb progression, but if you want to go for that like really soulful Telxry type feel, this is another technique you might want to add on top of this. It's adding another bass line. But what I mean by that is we take a bit like how we just did a bass line in the beginning, where instead we're gonna add it to the top. So let's make a bass line of high notes on top of these chords. Let's see here. Let's try how this sounds. Let's see how this sounds. That sounds pretty good to me. But let's try a different one, just to be safe. That sounds really good. Now you can probably see that we have some big gaps right here. What we can do to fix that is look at some notes from chords over. So I see there's a G right here, but this G is pretty close to this A. It's probably gonna sound like a little bit harsh. So I'm gonna take this E, move it over. That works. Let's try the F. I like that E. You can maybe even move this E here again. Let's try moving this B over. And that's pretty much it. That is a really nice soulful R&B Pluggnb Telxry chord progression.